Oh, boys and girls, I'm so glad that you came back to visit me. You remember before, my name is Jackie Tijuca Nunez, and I'm a member of the Juaneño Band of Mission Indians, a Hashiman Nation. And we are the indigenous people of Orange County. We generally say all of Orange County, but to the north of us, there's a little bit of the Tongva sharing of the land, and to the south of us, there's a little sharing of the Luceño. So, but generally we say Orange County. And my people are the builders of the mission San Juan Capistrano. So if you've ever been to San Juan Capistrano, then you've seen the works of my ancestors. Now, I have a kind of an interesting history because my great-great-great-grandfather was Feliciano Rios, and he guarded Father Serra from San Diego, and he came up to San Juan Capistrano, and then after a few years of service, the country of Spain gave our people a land grant that was called the Boca de la Playa, and it was several thousand, at least 1,000 acres, and on that area we built our own home, which is called the Rios Adobe. And that Rios Adobe is considered to be the oldest home in California. And I grew up in that house when I was a little girl. My brother, Stephen Rios, lives in that house today. And there's almost 12 generations now. And it's a beautiful part of history. And the street is named after my family. And also the park. So if you ever go down to San Juan Capistrano and you want to see that, just go down that street and say, I know virtually Miss Jackie Nunez, and she told me all about this street. Then what happened is my grandfather and my great-great-grandmother, they married and had many children, and their children married into the tribe that was here, that was existing. And that's how I got my Hashiman blood. And so the funny part of my whole life story is my father is Irish. So I am Irish and Juaneño and Spanish, and I love every bit of all of who I am. And I hope that you do too. I hope that you know that each and every one of you are special, whatever your heritage is. And you have treasures. Sometimes you may carry those treasures around it like Santa Claus and never take the time to look inside. And how do you look inside? By asking your auntie and your grandfather and your grandmother and say, tell me about me. And then you'll get to know and own who you are. Well, let's take a look at my table here. I've got some things that are very interesting. The one thing I want to show you is that we did not play the drum. We played rattles, but women didn't play rattles. Rattles were for the men to play. And so that was, I'm just shaking it so that you can hear that. And the ladies, we played a stick that was called the clapper stick. So I'm going to sing a song for you. And this song is about the wind. Not to eat, yo, out to dee-da-dee-ba, iche-maha, yo-ho-wee-yo, aha-wea-ya, hee-hee-ime, cello-ya-mi-po-mi-po-wee, yo-ho-wee, yo-wee-yo-po-wee, yo-na-ho-no-ya, asha, mummy-yo-po-wee, yo-na-ho-no-ya, asha, not to yo, to dee-da-dee-ba, iche-maha. You know what that song says? Oh, wind, come softly on my face. We all love that feeling, don't we? We don't like a big mighty wind, but we love that nice, gentle wind that comes upon our face. So that's one of our instruments, the clapper, the rattle, and then only the men, of course, also used our deer toenail rattle, and these were for special ceremony, mostly for funerals. I have permission from my tribe to show it, but only the men really play this. Now, when I bring this to school, mostly kids go, eh, oh, oh. But you know what? Instead of saying ooh, I want you to say ah. Oh, I didn't know that. You see, my ancestors used every part of the deer. When we took the life of the deer, we didn't throw anything away. So let me teach you what to do when you are around somebody else that's cultural and they're showing you something. Don't judge it. Just say, that's different. And that deserves respect and understanding. And when you say that, you know what happens to your brain? Your brain goes like this: open, 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 open. It's open and ready to learn. And then you'll take that all in, and you'll know that every culture has something beautiful. Now, a clapper stick, I have one here that is actually from the elderberry. Elderberry is the only branch that grows straight up. Have you seen that out there? Maybe some of you when you're hiking. And then you take it off, and this is the bark, and then you smooth it out. Here, you take it off, peel it off, and you sand it. But what do you sand it with? Shark skin. Isn't that something? And shark skin was traded because we had the shark skin, but the people in the desert didn't. So that was one thing we traded. So this is a big one. It's got a deeper sound. But you hollow it out and you clean it out, and this is where the clapper stick comes from. And of course, because we're by the ocean, we had the shell. And see this black stuff right here? That's asphaltum, which can also be found at the ocean. And that's the oil that works itself up and swashes around. And if you've ever been to the beach and you thought you stepped on gum, but it happened to be a little piece of black tar, that's what we call asphaltum. And we gathered that so that we could make things just like this. Did the women get to play this? No, not really. But, you know, we always respected our place and what we were able to use and what we could do. Well, I wanted to tell a story. And this story is about a little girl, and her name is Shoo. And I hear some children in the background, and if they were here, I know they'd like the story too. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell it to you. A long time ago, in the village of Ahashumai, there lived a little girl, and her name was Shoo. Shoo was special. Even when she was in her mother's tummy, her mother would rub her tummy and lay on the soft rabbit fur. She would look outside of her kicha, and through the smoke hole, she would count the stars in the sky. It was her favorite thing to do. And when she had her baby, she couldn't believe it, that her little girl had spots all over her face, just like the night sky. Why, she took that baby and she prayed to the Creator. Oh, Creator, you have given me one with the night sky. I shall call her Shoo, which means many stars. Shoo was special. Why, even the children would look at her because she was so different with all those brown spots on her face. But there was something wonderful about her. And when she was about this tall, maybe 3 years old, she found her voice. But her voice didn't find her ear. And so when she sang, it sort of sounded like this. Yahane! Yahane! Why, everyone would run out of the village. Why, even the animals would run, and the coyotes and the skunk would come by and say, what's going on here? But finally, Shoo grew up to be about this tall, and she did find her voice. And when she sang loud and proud, and it sounded like this. Yahane, 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 na. Ayahane na, ayahane na. And the rabbits would come to her feet, and the deer would nuzzle her elbow, and the badger would come out of his hole. But it was the dragonfly that swirled around everyone in the village and only landed on her. You know, in our Indian way, in California, we say, when a dragonfly lands on you, it means you have a good heart. Well, there was a little boy in the village, and he didn't have a good heart. He had a coyote spirit, and he always was, playing tricks on everybody. And one day, he got a stick, and he got some mud in an abalone shell, and he painted spots all over his face. he got his grandmother's clapper stick. And when all the children were around, this is what he did. Ya honey, ya honey, ya honey, na honey. Shoo knew that he was making fun of her. Tears began to run down her face, and she backed out of the village till she got to her mother, who was gathering plants. And she said, "Grandmother, why do I have spots all over my face?" She picked up a soap root. She tried to scrub it, and her grandmother took that soap root out of her hand. She said, "Shoo, never question the Creator, for it is He, with His finger, that He put those precious spots all over your face." She took her finger and she wiped that tear. And her grandmother says, "Now come, see right there? Right there is the creek. And the creek is showing some leaves, and one leaf is spotted and one leaf is plain. Which one do you notice?" "I noticed the spotted leaf." "Yes, it's the same leaf that the caterpillar crawls onto and eats and becomes what?" "A butterfly." "Yes." And she wiped another tear. And then the grandmother took her to a rock and she said, "See those two stones over there? One is spotted and the other is just plain. Which one do you notice?" And she said, "The one with the spots on it." "Yes." She said, "And that's the same rock that the rattlesnake crawls onto. He sheds his old skin and becomes a new and beautiful creation." And Shoo felt good. Her heart was lifted. She picked up her clapper stick and she was ready to sing when she noticed the little boy, the coyote boy. He was standing behind a tree, and tears were coming down his face, and that face was one big muddy mess. And she said, "Mona," which means "come here." But the little boy couldn't believe that she was calling him Mona, and he came. And when he came, she had him stand right next to her, and she washed that abalone that had mud in it, and she got fresh water. And as he stood there, she washed his face. And as the water went down his face and washed away all the mud, he said to himself, "She's everything that everyone says she is. She's so nice and kind and forgiving." He looked up and he said, "Chulayam." "Yes." "Will you be my friend?" "Of course I'll be your friend." And because his heart had changed, something wonderful was about to happen. The dragonflies came all around them both. And he says, "Oh, Shulayam, I'm standing still. Do you think a dragonfly will land on me?" She says, "Shh, be still, let's see." And the dragonflies came, and they came, and they came very close to him, and they hovered over him as though they were just going to land on his head, and they flew away. She said, "Shh." Then the dragonflies came again, and they found that little boy, and they landed right on his nose. "Shula, yeah, there's a dragonfly on my nose. He's looking at me and I'm looking at him. Oh my goodness, I think he likes me." And then it flew away. And then the dragonflies came again, and one landed on her shoulder as always. And she looked at that dragonfly, and she looked at her new friend, and she smiled up at Creator, for she knew that Creator had brought her a good friend, and they were good friends forever. And I'm going to say ho, and you're going to say hey. Ho! Hey. And that's the end of our story. And that's the end of our time together, but we'll see you next time with more information and lovely things to share about my Hashiman culture. Ama!